Hello, I'm Bryan Sitch and I'm Deputy Head of Collections at Manchester Museum, and over the last couple of years my colleagues and I have been working on a project to create a new Chinese culture gallery, the Li Kai-hung Chinese Culture Gallery, which will open in October 2022. And one of the objects that we've got out today is an umbrella. It's arguably perhaps not the most exciting Chinese object that people have ever seen, but I think potentially it is one of the most moving objects in our collections because of the story behind this object. It's an umbrella that was made by the Chinese Labour Corps during or at the end of the First World War. Many people may not have heard of the Chinese Labour Corps, but we know that towards the end of the First World War, the Allies, Britain, France and Russia were suffering from manpower shortages because they'd had many casualties in the fighting. And China offered to send workers to northwest France and to Russia. And these were men who didn't fight. They helped behind the lines by moving food and munitions, by laying railway tracks, by digging trenches, by helping but not fighting. And this meant that men were released to fight on the front line. And we know that these companies of Chinese Labour Corps workers were organised in groups of about 500. They had their own Chinese supervisors, but they were commanded by British officers. And this Chinese Labour Corps umbrella was actually given to Manchester Museum by Lieutenant Thomas Walsh, who came from Blackburn in Lancashire. And Thomas Walsh is a really interesting character. We'd really like to know more about him. But he seems to have had quite a humble beginning. He worked in a textile factory, a textile mill, but he had perhaps a unique blend of abilities, particularly language learning skills. And we know that he studied French, German and Mandarin here at the University of Manchester. He also served in the army for a while. He was a sergeant in the British Army and had left the army before the First World War. So during the First World War, when Chinese workers were coming to France to help the Allies, Thomas had perhaps a unique blend of skills to be an officer and it was a big promotion for him at the time. He was well skilled to lead or take part in the commanding one of these Chinese Labour Corps companies. Thomas had photographs of some of his workers, and we can show some of the men that Thomas commanded, to Chinese men. So here we have Zhang Decheng and Zhang Jingwei. The umbrella, I think it's something of a custom in China, isn't it? If you was to show your appreciation for someone who perhaps in old times it would be a mandarin.
It's more like a symbol of protection. It's like under someone's protection, it's like an image. So the people who got protected and send the umbrella to maybe like the leader or someone, yeah.
And that this is a symbolic way for them to say thank you to him.
Thank you for the protection, or thank you for the,
yeah.
Based on my understanding, because the first time I see this umbrella, I'm impressed of the color. As you can, if you went to the temples in China, you can see many things like similar, because in temples they use the kind of yellow and also the sculpture there. Like umbrella is one of the 8 lucky stuff in Buddhism. At that time, as I read the article, I think Thomas Walsh not only learned the Chinese character, but also learned the culture, and he even allowed people to build some small pagoda there. I think it's all like a culture related. Like this is kind of like a pagoda, like the Buddhist stuff to show the respect. And you can also see the umbrella like it's the emperor use holding this on the head, right? So this is the most respectful way. I think maybe that's why like Thomas Walsh just consider is very honorable because this is genuinely just respect him and give this gift.
Do you think that Chinese visitors coming to see this, if they see this on display, do you think they will find it interesting? Do you think they'll be moved by it?
Definitely will.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because from what we received, the information mostly about that history is like a tough, harsh history for the laborers and for the armies. But this shows another like aspect for